Clayton Mitchell.
I appreciate the call yet again in this marathon debate that we're having. And I do also acknowledge and very much appreciate the words of the Honourable Minister, because it is great that we've got this engagement, this opportunity. But I hear his discussion with regards to Section 28 not leaving in a worker. And I really would like you to reconsider that, Minister, because let me just give you two examples of how this modification in Section 28 will actually have a positive impact on businesses around the country. So when I was around talking to the meat workers, we had a chance to have a serious conversation with regards to the senior management and the new PCBUs as they would be under this new Act. And they employ some 300 odd workers in this place, and yet they find that at least 30% of their workers on a daily basis come in because they've left their safety goggles at home. And oh goodness me, I left them at home. And so they hand them another pair. And oh goodness me, I've left my hard hat at home and my high-vis jacket, so they give them another one. And they've got stocks and stocks and stocks of this stuff because it goes out like cannon fodder to their employees. Now, the point being is, if the workers, now the employer is not going to send the worker home to say, sorry, you can't work today until you go and get your other one back, because of course that's going to slow down production. So they hand them over that other pair of glasses, $15. Now, if there was a levy that could be placed on that worker to say, look, I'm going to give you that, I'm going to take you down for $15 for a pair of safety goggles, make sure you bring them back tomorrow or replace your other ones. That's the sort of simple practicality that this legislation will allow. Now, you talked about not being able to levy these workers or charge them, but if you consider a different scenario, a not so practical scenario, where we've got a workplace where we've got a tree felling gang going around and clear felling a section. Now, if the lumberjack forgets his chaps and forgets his hard hat and safety goggles, there's clearly not a resource or a four-wheel drive that hosts all the gear that they need. They simply cannot go to work that day. So what we're saying is, it's not a matter of the worker not being able to work. In a situation like that, they just cannot they cannot come to work. It's unsafe. And no worker or no employee or employer, PCBU or worker, will allow themselves to get themselves into a situation that would happen. So practically, we're just simply saying that in the event of staff members showing up regularly, ridiculously, without their PPE, their personal protective equipment, that we should, as employers, be able to sensibly say, I'm going to charge you that, and then bring it back in tomorrow. Look, in any employer where you've got a staff uniform required that might not be personal protective equipment, you'd surely say to that staff member, you haven't got your shirt on today, here's another one, either bring it back washed and clean ready tomorrow, or we're going to charge you for your staff uniform. It's the same thing. And any worker, any employer, has the ability to do that with a uniform, and yet this is part of a uniform. You're unable to do it, and I think the government's missing the point. It's a simple, common sense, practical solution to a problem that has just been transferred into something else, and we would love to see the government support that, because it will make a huge difference to the businesses that are forking out millions of dollars on personal protective equipment with absolutely no recourse for staff, because there's no comeback on them. Now, I'd also like to bring your attention in saying your response, and I acknowledge that, and I think it's fantastic, around not being able to put them insurance against fines or for anything unlawful. Now, insuring yourself, I think, is quite important. One of the things that this bill may have an effect on, an unintended consequence, if you will, is around people seconding themselves to boards. Now, in a council-controlled organisation, a CCO, where you've got councillors that are obviously protected under this legislation to have any legality of onerous, as soon as they get seconded onto a council-controlled organisation, they all of a sudden become legally culpable for any mishaps in that workplace. And let's be honest, for example, some of these CCOs that are around the country operating in Auckland, Tauranga, Rotorua, Wellington even, are quite large and quite onerous. You are going to have a pushback from the communities of people that are wanting to take on that responsibility, because there is going to be some very far-reaching obligations for them, both legally, morally, and so on. And for the ability for that person on the board to not be able to insure themselves, I find a little bit absurd. And just to finish off on this section, which covers off a lot of what I've got to say too, Mr Chair, just to finish off.
Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Chair.